What up, everybody? YouTube Live, how's it going? Good morning. This is Friday, May 24th, 2019. And you know what happens on Friday? It's another episode of Doom Patrol. And I'm a little bummed out because today is the season one finale. That's right. So it's going to be a while until we get season two, but thankfully the show has been renewed for second season. Um, so yeah, this is my live review of Doom Patrol season 1 episode 15 titled Ezekiel Patrol. So heads up, I'll be spilling some spoilers. This review is mainly for those of you, my fellow Doom Patrol fans who have also watched today's episode. So heads up, spoiler alert. Wow. So today's episode was wacky to say the least. Last week, it ended with Niles Cauldron, the chief, revealing to the rest of the gang that he was the cause for what happened to them. Why Cliff is now Robot Man, why Rita is now Elastigirl, with Crazy Jane and Larry Trainer. He is the one who set the whole thing in motion, including Larry Trainer's accident and his encounter with the negative spirit. So, man, and that's good. My reaction to that is that that's good because it shows that Niles, it shows another shade of Niles. That he's not just like straight up one-dimensional good mentor. That everybody has their dark side and good side, and this is Niles' dark side. And turns out that he caused all that chain motion to happen because I guess it has to do with wanting immortality, wanting to make sure that he can save his daughter, whose face we don't really get to see in this episode, but they end up saving or rescuing her. Um, so yeah, another shade to Niles, and I think his story in this episode goes to that old saying that old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like, sometimes you do what you in your head think is right, but the way to get there, you do some immoral, unacceptable, shady stuff. And you try to rationalize it and justify it, like, hey, you know, uh, at least I saved Cliff, from dying completely. Even though in the process, his wife died and he couldn't see his daughter all these years. So that's the collateral part of it. So it, this complicates their relationship even further, and it makes Niles' character even more complex. And that, to me, again, as I said, is a good thing. It adds to the layer of the drama and makes it more dun dun dun. Um, in this episode, first off, it starts with the Doom Patrol apparently living their lives without Niles and not in the Doom Mansion or Doom Mansion. Um, Rita tries to teach high schoolers acting, which doesn't go too well. Doesn't bode too well. I used to be a high schooler. We all were once high schoolers, and we remember how rowdy, how terrible, how dickish we were back then. And yeah, I made fun of my teachers too. So I would not want to be. I mean, like, I have so much respect for high school teachers, man, because I would not want to teach me in high school. Uh, and Cliff has this routine with his negative spirit where he tests how long they can be apart without Cliff completely dying, I suppose. Um, and in this present, Crazy Jane tries to suppress her excuse me, her many multiple personalities. Sorry, guys, I need to drink some more. And Cliff, Robot Man. Sorry, I've been falling sick this past few days. And Robot Man continues to have heart for Crazy Jane. So not much change on Robot Man. Not much changes on Robot Man's part. Um, but then, of course, the episode takes a turn of events, which is they have to go into the painting because apparently Danny's the street and Niles' daughter have been taken. And before we get to that, there's a scene in the middle involving Mr. Nobody and the cockroach and the rat. I believe the rat's name is Ezekiel, or is it the cockroach's name is Ezekiel? But anyway, they or the cockroach basically concocts a plan because by this point, Mr. Nobody feels purposeless. Like, oh, it's all done now. There's no more left for me. And of course, he breaks the fourth wall or talks about some reference that we know because that's how he rolls. The cockroach says, "No, no, we gotta bring on the apocalypse." And then they include the friend, the rat, the same rat that went inside Robot Man or Cliff Steele. And that whole sequence, man, cracks me up. Oh, the CG for the cockroach, for one, is so detailed. I don't know, the visual effects team, they deserve all the applause, man. I mean, um, you've seen a lot of CG superhero spectacle movies out there on the big screen. The quality of the cockroach visually in this one is up to par with those big screen movies. It's just, and this is a streaming service TV series, so man, they really pull out all the stops, man, for Doom Patrol. But the plan does not go according to Mr. Nobody's expectations because apparently Niles' daughter kind of enlarges the cockroach and the rat, and now they're giants on Danny Street. Sorry, I can't keep giving you the context with a straight face. This show cracks me up. Oh my god! Just when you thought it could not get any weirder, it just did. And wait! It goes even more bizarre. Mr. Nobody, like, sulking, is like, "Oh, they betrayed me. Oh, they become these giant monsters, and now we're doomed." No pun intended. And so the team comes up with a plan that includes Mr. Nobody narrating, because remember, he's a narrator. So when he says, it goes. And in this episode, he speaks the cockroach and the rat into making out. wait! I'm getting ahead of myself. The reason why the reason why Mr. Nobody has to do that is because Robot Man Cliff Steele finds himself inside the rat when he's supposed to be inside the cockroach. With the rest of the gang. The rest of the gang already get themselves picked up by the cockroach and swallowed in, but Cliff finds himself inside the rat. So it's like, oh god, what? Everybody's already inside the. It's like, so Mr. Nobody's like, okay, there's a way to get Cliff from the stomach of the rat to go into the stomach of the cockroach instead of the rat. So there's a way, and the way is that Mr. Nobody speaks the rat and the cockroach into making out, like French kissing, tongue. They stick their tongues down each other's throats. And you see Robot Man crawling up the trachea and onto the saliva filled tongue and of the rat, and jumps over down to the or slide down into the cockroach. Man, I was watching that. I was like, wow, I cannot believe what I'm watching. This is insane. I think I think the timing of Doom Patrol series existing, I mean, it could not be at a better time than right now. Not only because the visual effects, our technology and filmmaking today has pretty much caught up to the story, and they are able to realize some of the imagery and the technicalities that could not be or could not be achieved about 20, 30 years ago. All right. So the timing is right. But also the timing of the stories itself is right. Because if you sell Doom Patrol, if you sold Doom Patrol in the 90s or the 80s as a TV series, I don't think it would fly. I don't think it would. I think people back then, because now we get, as a society, become less and less uptight, at least the youth, the younger people, and then we become more and more open-minded to um, characters who are either far-fetched or like unlike any character you've ever seen before. We are more open to that idea now these days, that something like Doom Patrol, you know can find its audience. So the timing of the technology and the timing of the story's arrival, could not be more perfect. Sorry, I got a message from a friend. Um, and 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 back to Niles, though. It also makes sense in to add to the complexity of his character. Like, the guy's a scientist, he's a genius, and there's always a in science fiction or stories like this, there's always uh, uh, a tendency for the scientist character to play God, and this is the consequence of him playing God. Um, and because of this, I think in season two, Doom Patrol, the team, would not be able to see Niles the same way, let alone trust him. Um, I don't know if they're gonna be able to function as a team with him around, or with him around them. Um, so it's gonna be interesting to see whether or not they could even go to the point of forgiving him. Obviously, Cliff Steele is the angriest of them all, because he blames Niles for the years that he lost, not spending time with his daughter. Um, so this final season finale episode, my if I were to give you my adjectives reacting to how I feel about this season finale episode, some of the words that come to my mind is that it is bizarre, it's weird, but it's awesome at the same time. Um, I mean, cockroach and a rat French kissing. That's not something you see every day. So kudos to the writers for going bold, ballsy, and just go all out. It's like, hey, give the fans what they want, right? We've always been weird these past 14 episodes. Hell, why stop now? So brave on the part of the show and the writers and the actors too. Oh man, the performances these past 15 episodes have been so remarkable. We saw Matt Bomer singing, dancing. That's what he has always been able to do as an actor, and he shines in the show. We see Rita, or April Bowlby playing Rita. Sorry, April Bowlby as Rita really taps into the regret and the guilt that was eating Rita alive. And the same case with Jovan, who plays Cyborg, and Brendan Fraser voicing Robot Man. And you know what? Gotta give props to Brendan Fraser, man. That guy has let himself go. All right, you've seen episodes where he shows up, like his face and body, in previous episodes of Doom Patrol, and you can tell the guy has let himself go. Like, he has, I don't know, man. I don't want to psychoanalyze him, but he does not look like the guy in the Mummy movies. All right, he's got belly bigger than mine. So, but he doesn't give a shit. He'd be like, "Hey, you want me to play Cliff Steele when Cliff Steele's human? I'm in, man. I'm all game. I'm all game." And he's still got that Brendan Fraser touch, that same that Brendan Fraser timing. And when he curses and yells and shouts, dropping f bombs, he does it with passion. And who else? Diane Guerrero. Oh man, I didn't even know Diane Guerrero before this. I know that she was in a few series before in the past. I think Jane the Virgin was also one of them, right? So, but this is Diane Guerrero playing what she's meant to play, and man, performing those multiple characters over the season, that's not easy, man. Holy crap! And I'm sure as an actress, she would find that rewarding because a lot of actors out there, and I've read this that after a couple of seasons playing their characters, and then they sometimes complain that the writers don't have much idea for their characters to grow anymore, and they seem to be stuck in that tedious, monotonous kind of circle or cycle. Whereas Dan Guerrero, dude, she plays Hammerhead. She plays Karen, the romantic 19. There's 64 choices of Jane that Diane Guerrero could play, and because of that, it's always refreshing. Like it throws her a curveball. She's not stuck in that monotony. It's just like, yes, yes, I get to be crazy this time. I get to be romantic this time. I get to be just calm. It's like, so many shades. So I'm sure for her, it's both challenging and rewarding. Um, and Cyborg goes, what else can I do? Oh, by the way, this episode, we get to see Niles interacting with Cyborg's mom and dad, and they pretty much judge him for what I said earlier about Niles playing God. Um, and there have been stories out there. This is not like the first original thing that Doom Patrol came up with. That no, there have been stories out there where chain of events or what happens to the characters are caused by the guy that they're supposed to trust, or that they're supposed to be mentored by. Um, so it is a form of betrayal, definitely. Niles was doing that. What I said, the road to hell is paved with good intention. But does that make Niles a bad guy? Does this make Niles a villain? I hardly think so. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not a parent, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that any parent would do anything for their kids, including breaking the laws or breaking moral grounds or moral rules just to save their kid. So that's the complexity that's part of Niles that I love. Overall, oh man, this has been such a great psychological ride this season one. Oh God, it's like going to therapy. Watching Doom Patrol is like going to therapy because there are parts or there's struggles or there's demons about these characters that I can relate to. I may not be a robot, but I can relate to not seeing my sister, for example, and for months on end. You know, I may not have multiple personality, but I know what it's feel. I know, and I remember what it felt like to be depressed. Just like Crazy Jane was. You know, I was never a movie star like Rita Farr, but I know what it felt like to feel ugly sometimes. To feel like, oh, I'm just not. Why can't I be beautiful like the rest of everybody? So there's all these characters in this. It's been a psychological trip, man. And this episode 2, season finale, doesn't end with them like, you know, your typical superhero team joining forces and kicking ass. Even their plan is as outrageous as they are. Like going inside the cockroach's stomach and burst out of it. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Oh, what a show! What a show! Uh, I'm gonna can't believe we have to wait a long time now till season 2 arrives. But the good news is that Swamp Thing, that's right, Swamp Thing's premiere is next week, next Friday. So you know what that means, right? I'll be giving you also my live review of Swamp Thing episodes. I am stoked about that. That one, I think, is gonna be less psychological, trippy, mind trip stuff, and more just straightforward, anti-hero, um, fighting the villains and fighting for his lover. Um, so I think that's going to be pretty straightforward compared to Doom Patrol. Oh man! Shout out to Alan Tudyk, who has been amazing this past season as Mr. Nobody. What a great villain! What a peculiar, out of this world villain. Invincible too. Invincible. He doesn't have to do anything. Not even snaps his fingers, which he often does. He can just narrate it, and it comes to be. Such a great power, man. If you are a villain, so thank you so much for tuning in. Those few of you, my fellow Doom Patrol fans out there, if you've seen today's season finale, what do you think? Share your thoughts. Agree or disagree with my assessment of the episode? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And as always, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Press that like button and ring that bell. And if you can help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. That's patreon.com/ramascreen. Let's rock this.